Okay, and we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to the final day of the MUSA debates. Thank God. Right now, we'll be having the Activities Chairperson debate. So before we get into the candidates and their policies, I'm just going to go for a brief overview of this session. So right now, we're in the introduction phase, and following that, we'll be moving into a 5 to 7 minute opening statement from the candidates. So our candidates today are Rachel and Niran. Following that, we'll be having a Q&A from office bearers/candidates. Just a quick little disclaimer is that today we don't have the current activities chairperson in-house because of a conflict of interest. So we'll be appointing a proxy in his place to go and ask questions. And following that, we'll be having a Q&A session from the students. So whoever's watching right now, feel free to drop your comments and we'll get to you. And following that, we'll have a 5-minute closing statement. So on that note, I'd like to introduce Rachel and Niran. So whenever you guys are ready, just start your opening speech. You have 7 minutes.
All right, I'll go first. So good afternoon, fellow Monashians. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Niran.
And we are candidates of Activities Chairperson from MUSA. As we have many past experiences from organizing events, we wish to serve the Monash community with organizing fun and engaging events and bring out new ideas to life. So we have many initiatives planned for next year, such as Monash Talent, which is a good event for students to perform, compete, and showcase their talents such as dancing, singing, and so on and so on. We have Monash Carnival, which is similar to Good Vibes Festival, but a smaller scale with food vendors and exciting music. We aim to create an avenue for students to participate in our events, but they themselves can learn from the experience and strive to be better. It could also be a stepping stone for them to recognize what they're truly passionate about. Not only that, we will adhere to our original plans to carry out orientation bash, which is especially for orientation students during that specific intake, MUSA Day, and our biggest event of all, Monash Ball. As we know that many students were not able to attend physical orientation activities this year, we are more than welcome to extend the invitation to 2020 intake students. Last but not least, we will continue our MUSA Buddy program from this year, as it has allowed many students to build friendships over the sessions and engage with people from different schools. So not only that, we are also very adaptable to any situation given the uncertainty of 2021. If our physical events are not being able to proceed, we still need to serve our students and think of more fun and engaging online initiatives for students to participate so that they can get some feel of events and make lifelong friendships.
Another thing that we're taking into consideration is the possibility of budget cuts. And our solution to this would be to encourage more collaborations between the MUSA departments. Not only will this lighten the budget load, we get to cater for a larger audience and the students will feel more included. We want the best for the students and we'll find a solution to carry out the events that our students expect us to have. We also strive to obtain sponsorships from external parties in the future to ease our budget situation. We are open to any suggestion and ideas on activities, on what you would like to see on campus. You can contribute to our events and being part of our lovely team. That's plus point of it. Being in a team, you'll definitely expand your exposure on what the real world is like, especially when liaising with different types of organizations outside of Monash. Our aim is to allow members to share their ideas, learn what teamwork is, and they will strive for execution. It takes an entire team to make the events grander than ever, and we love when our members feel included. An issue that we've been made aware of is the adherence to social distancing and the standard operating procedures. So our plan to ensure that the necessary steps are taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is that we will greatly enforce this SOPs because we don't want to cause any harm in Monash, and we do care about the well-being of our students, especially at the events. Rachel.
I didn't unmute myself. So as action speaks louder than words, we are entitled to create the best campus experience for our students and leave with unforgettable memories that they can never replace. So all we want for our students is to have a fun experience in Monash University. And when we have more activities that await for you. So vote for us. Thank you.
All right, so thank you guys. That was a very good opening speech. Now we'll be moving into the office bearer section. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Tafim. So just start whenever you are ready. There you go.
All right.
Okay.
Hi, guys. My name is Taf. I'm the Vice President of MUSA 2020, filling in as proxy for the Activities Chairpersons. All right, let's just get to the questions. From your manifesto, you mentioned that integrating all cultures in Monash. How would you do that as Activities Chairpersons in collaboration with MUIS?
Our portfolio is to cater for both local and international students in Monash. So our events aren't just planned for one group, I suppose. It's catered for both the international and local students. So when we're planning events, that's the consideration we have in mind right now.
Do you have any specific events planned that have a collaboration between with MUIS?
Okay, I'll chip in then. So basically, every event we plan to, especially when you want to collaborate, because international students are mostly catered to MUIS, right? So if you want to collaborate with them, it depends on the agenda of the event. So let's say Monash Ball. Monash Ball is catered to all students. We can obviously ask MUIS to collaborate with them, but then they also have their own specific activities like Monash Culture Night, which they are busy with actually during the semester. So it depends whether it fits both agenda to both MUIS and MUSA. That's one thing we need to consider about whether it fits both or not. Yeah. But if we can collaborate for Monash Ball, that will be a bigger event and it'll be greater, especially towards performances. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Moving on to my next question. Understanding that the activities chairpersons require multitasking skills, how would you guys handle the pressures of academics and have successfully fulfill your duties as activities chairperson?
I'll go first with this one. So
Yeah,
for me,
I've done
sorry,
this. Cut in. Just
Sure.
cut in. Sorry. To clarify, how would you guys cope with the multitasking skill? And do you guys have any prior experiences with handling this much of pressure? This question is directed to Niran.
Okay. So for me personally, I have planned events like this. In 2018, I planned my high school prom. That was the biggest event for my school, and this was done alongside my O level. So imagine the stress of that. So I was able to cope just fine with like planning, liaising with suppliers, and focusing on academics. And yeah, so I do not think that I will have an issue with that here.
All right. Moving on to my next question. Do you have any initiatives that you have planned that would not be the same as MUSA 2020 before the COVID-19? For example, do you have any new initiatives that you have planned for 2021 that were not there in your original manifesto for 2020?
All right. So it really depends on the certainty of 2021. So what I was thinking is to have, because we see that a lot of students actually want to have like a rave party, like something similar to a rave party to get people to enjoy the music. But it actually really depends on the social, like towards the 2021 circumstance, whether social distancing is still taken into consideration and such. Because if you have a rave party, everyone's clustered in one position and one place, and it will be very dangerous for especially those COVID-19 situations to happen. So that's what it's planned for next year, included in one of the initiatives that I actually didn't mention because I was scared that social distancing still applies back the next year. Yeah. So that's a different initiative towards 2021. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. So moving on to my next question. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, there will be certain restrictions for large crowd events. And so how are you going to apply the SOP on these huge crowds? And for example, Monash Ball, that requires a lot of people. How would you enforce this SOP on this Monash Ball? And how would you ensure that students are following the SOP? Because from my understanding, Student Life has mentioned that even though campus had been reopened, some students after entering campus do not follow the SOP.
Okay, so I'll start off with this. Okay, so one of the few things that we have agreed that we think would make sense is we're gonna, for the Monash Ball especially, because it's the biggest event from Monash right now, so we're definitely gonna have one entry, one exit, because it helps us regulate the crowd and everything. Another thing that we need to do is to purchase those temperature gun thingies, and obviously we'll have to record the necessary details. And another thing, if it's possible, we would like to implement the use of MySejahtera. As you mentioned, some students do not follow the SOPs. So we can't just pick them out at the event. So we'll have to issue them with kind verbal warnings first, and then we'll monitor them throughout the rest of the event. And if they still breach this, we will have to take the necessary action to get them to leave.
Yeah. Can I add on? Not only that, right? Especially because you know that SOP is really hard to follow, especially when you go in the event, everyone is very messy after that. So what we plan to do is that we will have more manpower. Other than subcom, we will have we invite other departments to come in and help out to actually regulate the area, to be like those bodyguards that actually take charge of whether they foresee any activities. Like, let's say they're sitting quite close together, to just tell them we need to obey their social distancing here. I'm sorry, but we have to do so. Yeah, that's what we plan to do. Yep.
All right. Moving on to my next question. Can you specify how you want to create a fun experience for the students? You mentioned that in your manifesto. So, what are the sort of plans that you have right now that would have that would create a fun experience for the students?
As I mentioned earlier in my speech, there will be Monash Talent, Monash Carnival, and such like that. Especially Buddy Program, which is the online initiative that was proceeded with this year. Basically, how we want to enhance the experience is that we need students to realize that you need to come up from your schools to just to interact with people from other schools, because university is a place where you make lifelong friendships, and someday you will meet that friends. And we want to instill that students have to get that university experience before they go to the work life. That's what we want to do, especially Monash Talent is basically expressing your own talent, showcasing your own talent to the audience and showing what you got. Basically, it's giving them the students' confidence to do something out of the ordinary instead of just studying. Because Monash, we know for sure that Monash is a place to study. Everyone's very equipped with studying all the time. So we need a balance of play and work all the time, right? That's what we want to instill in Monash. Yeah.
All right. Moving on to my next question. You mentioned about creating events for students to relax and unwind. So what would be the difference between events for MUSA activities and MUSA welfare officers? How would you make the distinction in your events as activities chairpersons?
All right. So in distinction, right? It doesn't. If you want, one thing you need to know that MUSA is as a whole, we can actually collaborate in terms of if we feel like we can benefit off from each other. I think collaboration works the best. Let's say we have the same idea, let's say the care packages, right? The care packages is under welfare usually, but activities can chip in saying we feel like we want to do something and we want to help out, we can collaborate. It's not wrong for two departments to collaborate. It will be better off for the budget wise as well. Yeah. That's what I think. But there's the distinction. I don't want to have the distinction, but that activities to only do activities You know what I mean? The welfare should only be welfare things. I don't want to have that distinction between departments. We are MUSA as
All
a
right.
whole. Yeah.
All right, good answer. That's exactly the answer I was looking for. Thank you. Okay, moving on to my next question. Students, most of the students did not enjoy a lot of the regular events that we have. For example, the new intake students did not have any orientation bash or Monash ball. So how would you accommodate for these loss of events in 2020, in 2021?
Okay, so I'll take this. We can't compensate for the loss of the events, but we can include them. So as it was mentioned in our speech earlier, we will extend the invite for the orientation bash for the 2021 intakes to 2020 students because they lost out on that. So we decided that it's best that we can give them back their orientation. And as for events we do not know the budget situation, so we cannot guarantee we can't give them their own events. I mean, we can't replace the events, but we will integrate them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
All right. So, from my understanding from your answer, are you going to extend the invite for Monash Ball in 2021 to students that have already graduated in 2020?
First things first, we need to, okay, if you want to do that, you need to prioritize, they need the proof that they already graduated from this year, and they need to show us their proof so that we can make priorities for them. Yeah, we will extend to them because it's not fair for us to just extend to the ones in campus only. So if they feel like they want to come, they can actually consult us and show us proof that they already graduated this year and they want to come to Monash Ball. We can do that. Yeah.
All right. So why a follow-up question to that is that are you going to be actively reaching out to these students that have graduated because they may not be on campus and they may not follow the new Monash, the latest news by MUSA and the latest news by Monash. So they may actually miss out on these orientation ball dates because MUSA's following of MUSA's Instagram page and Facebook page is not dwarfs actually is dwarfed by the actual attendance of students in Monash, right? There's 8,000 students in Monash where about 4,000 people follow the MUSA IG. So would you be actively reaching out to these students that have graduated, or are you just going to be posting on MUSA?
I can answer this right. Yeah. So first thing is yes and no. To the part where you're reaching out, we can always ask like maybe Monash alumni group to send out this message. We can actually ask the student life or whoever's in charge, the Monash alumni, to reach out to these students just for this year. And also no, because for our part is that many students usually leave university and they already have their jobs stable and everything is stable, so they do not want to come back to the university life anymore. So we cannot force. We can't ask like if they are willing to come back for Monash Ball. Obviously, that's great. We will post it everywhere. It will be around campus all the time. But then we cannot. We can always reach out to them through Monash Alumni Network and such. Yeah, just for them to let them notify them that this is happening. We are opening to those who graduated in 2020.
All right. Okay. As the activities chairperson is a very big department, how would you could you give us an insight on how would you manage your team as heads of the department?
All right. Aaron, do you want to do it or I do it?
I'll chip in if I can. You go.
All right. So, yeah. So, to manage the team, right? First off, what 2020 did is that they have a hierarchy of things where there are groups where especially let's say decorating team, there's external liaison, and we're going to incorporate that to 2021 as well, because I feel like this is the most effective way for us to manage the team. And we are going to instill a more friendly and open space for them to pitch in ideas, because we do not want to feel like we are the bosses all the time, that they are students as well, and we are students. So we want ideas to be chipped in. That's what Activities is all about. Activities Subcom, they can chip in ideas, they can reach out and make friends as well. That's what we want for our subcommittee. Yeah. But if someone doesn't do their work, we are obviously going to be very strict about it, because it doesn't affect only them. It affects us and the event as a whole as well. Yeah.
Just to add to your point before that, so we're basically indirectly installing an open door policy. So to whoever students that have got ideas, anything, they're more than welcome to come up to us and be like, hey, this is a suggestion, and we'll take it under advisement.
Okay, you mentioned about students having ideas. Are you going to actively reach out to the students to be collecting feedback ideas? And if so, how will you do so?
We won't do it consistently. I mean, at the beginning of the year when we start our term, we will mention to the students, you guys are more than welcome to come and see us. But I mean, we won't be consistently reminding the students like, hey guys, if you got ideas, do come up and share it with us. Because I mean, we have our list of events that we want to plan, and if students have ideas, they are more than welcome to add on to that. Yeah, so it's not like
Your reply makes it sound like you are not actually that committed to representing the students' ideas on how you want to do the events, because I'll give you an insight on just the students, is that the students are very shy. They will not come up to you at all unless you actively reach out to them and push them and really poke the ideas out of them. So if you want to actually casually mention the ideas, it would seem like you're actually not serious about hosting the events that the students may think of. So would you want to reevaluate how you want to reach out to these students, and how you want to actually get ideas from the students and host events that the students would like to see?
All right, so I'll just pitch in because So my initial plan for us to collect feedback from students is one way or another is from the MUSA official page. If we are managed to publicize it to get ideas, then yes, we can do that. But the likelihood of the contribution is not very high. Yeah, one thing about Monash students is that they do not want to pitch in ideas. They just want to see it happening. Yes, so that's one problem that we are going to face. It's inevitable. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And also, like orientation bash and such, like the ones that are already in the handbook, like the ones that we have to do, we can actually go up to them personally during the event and say, what events do you want to have? Casual conversation saying like, we are going to plan this, we're going to plan that. Do you want to see anything else in Monash? That's indirectly, we are asking them what they want, but we do not give them a form to actually fill out, because the more formal way it is, the more they want to do it. So that's why the friendly environment comes in, because we are just talking to them as friends, and they will actually pitch in, and we will take it into consideration. That's what we want to do during our events, especially orientation bash, when we meet new people, and new intake will be like, oh, I want to see this, I want to see that, and then we can actually take it into consideration. Yeah.
All right. Just to follow up on that, if you want to have the students suggest events during during the orientation bash, that would not really represent the entire student population, because most students actually don't attend any particular sort of event because of the sheer number of students in Monash. So my question again is that, would you be actively reaching out to students mid-year to to get ideas from these students, and how would you do that?
Of course, like what I said, if we can.
Other than the friendly way, because the friendly way would not reach most students.
Yeah, of course, like what I said, since Google Forms is the new thing now, so we will try our best during post it out on MUSA officials, and that's the more online virtual way. But if it's physical, we can actually set up a booth and say, like, maybe we can set one day just for pitching ideas. That's when it's physical, but we're going to look into the more online one because it's more flexible that way. So a Google Forms is the best to go, because we can't go out to campus and say, like, and disturb them saying, like, hi, what do you think? What do you want to see? That's actually invading their privacy. So what we want to do is for them to volunteer to actually give them ideas, give us ideas, because in other words, if they want to come to our event, then they will actually pitch in ideas. Yeah. So we are voluntary, like we are reaching out to them in one way or another. But it really depends on the feedback we get as well. Yeah.
All right. That's all from us. From the moderators, I can see that we also don't have enough time. So is this the last question, or do I have time for more questions?
I think we'll just head into the audience Q&A now, and then if you have any leftover questions, I guess we can ask it once all these questions run dry. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll be moving into the open Q&A. So our first question is from Balsam. So you have planned to integrate all cultures in Monash into your activities, and that is a great idea for all international students. How will you make sure that your activities don't coincide with the kind of events MUIS does, as they exist to cater to these students?
I can take this. So, as we mentioned earlier, I mean, we're not specifically targeting international students. That's what MUIS does. They are the International Students Division. So we're not doing any specific events. We're just working more on events to integrate everyone. It's mainly to bridge the whole social gap between the local and international students. That's our main goal here.
And in case if there's any coincidence where we actually hold events similar to MUIS and stuff like that, we encourage them to reach out to us and tell us that we feel like this is more to international students. And sometimes we make mistakes as well. We actually do make mistakes. We need to realize that we sometimes we get carried away and we forget that we don't cater, like this event caters mostly to international students and such like that. So we want departments to come out to tell us that, this is mostly to international students. Why not we collaborate? Or why not we feel that this is mostly under our portfolio and this is not suitable for you. And we will take it into consideration, of course. Yeah.
All right. So thank you for your answer. We'll be moving on to the next question from Samantha. Good day, smiley face. Assuming next year we'll have an adaptation of moving back onto campus, how would you ensure students' engagement towards the events, such as social barriers?
So as we mentioned earlier, we will implement all of these standard operating procedures as laid down by the Malaysian government, because it's basically the law right now. So once again, we will, if we see someone not obeying these social distancing rules, we will verbally kindly tell them, guys, you need to shut apart. We'll monitor their behavior. If they still stick apart, we'll have no choice but to ask them to leave or take the necessary.
I think the question was mainly based on social engagement towards events, on asking people to come to events. So social barrier, So what activities is supposed to do, and what as heads we are supposed to do, is to get rid or try to reduce this social barrier between schools. That's why we wanna do this. We wanna have that's where the buddy program. That's where people who meet new friends. Actually, this is a reduction of social barrier, because people meet new friends and they will be lifelong friends after that. So, and also during the event, during events, they can actually share meet friends at the same interests, which is a very, very good way on this kind of thing. Yeah. But one thing you need to realize, that activities is usually because of social, it's basically social events. Most of our events are social events. So what we try to do is that, especially introverts, we try to encourage them to bring their friends along and, bring them as a group and then try to mingle with everyone else if they feel comfortable enough.
All right, great answers, guys. So our next question is from Dominic. For initiatives such as the Buddy program that are very popular with students during the first few weeks and response from students drop during the following weeks, how would you manage it such that you encourage students to consistently join the Buddy program and other events?
I'll answer this one. So, due to the fact that Buddy program was online, it's because that the wage of assignments weigh in after that, and then people start to realize their workload is very high, and then they cannot come to these events. We understand that completely because we also are students, and basically Buddy program is a very flexible program where they come in and they just relax and talk to others. And if the response drops over weeks, like during the following weeks, we will still continue the program because it is what we are supposed to do. But on behalf of encouraging more people to come, we can market it even more. And because we also have groups as well that caters the Buddy program, we can just ask them, like, bring your friends over. It's going to be a relaxing time for just this 1 hour. Make sure they come, and then we also cater to these topics that are more interesting. So we encourage new people to come in and talk and interact. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. Cool. So we'll be moving on to the next question from Sings. Okay. How would you recognize the contribution of your subcommittees? Because the weight of the activity is mostly on the subcoms, even though the heads hold the official responsibility.
All right. Nguyen, do you want to answer or do I answer?
Yeah, I can take this. I mean, we are gonna definitely, there will be an equal distribution. I wouldn't say completely equal because we will definitely take their ideas into consideration. And yeah, if I'm understanding the question correctly here, we will give the necessary credit where it's due. If I'm answering the question right here. Rachel, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. So to recognize the contribution of subcoms, subcoms do a lot of work. That's one thing you need to consider, that we play as a team. It doesn't matter if we're heads or not, but we are as a team. We officially take responsibility of like more of the integrating with the student life and more the management side. But idea side, obviously subcoms play a very big role because not only our ideas comes into mind, the subcoms do too. So to recognize their contribution, we will actually give them a lot of recognition, saying like, she organized this, she pitched in this idea. This is the recognition we can give it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, all right. So moving on to our next question from Dominic. How would you handle specific issues that arise within your subcom, like sexual harassment? What can you do to prevent it from happening?
Rachel, you want to take this one?
Okay, I'll take this one. So, to handle specific issues, like let's say sexual harassment and everything. First things first, we are gonna we will find out the root of the problem. We will find out both sides on, actually, because sometimes sexual harassment you don't have proof, so we do not know. We don't have evidence, so we do not know. It could be a very biased opinion. That's one thing we need to realize. So, we are gonna talk to both sides first to give their, to tell them what actually happened. And if there's witnesses, tell us that as well. Then after that, we're going to ask them to come together and say, like, is this what really happened? Is this what really happened? Then, yeah. So I don't like sexual, like, in this kind of situation, if my subcom has sexual harassment, I will actually be very, very strict about it because this is not something to be taken very lightly. I will actually just ask them to personally, resign from their position because not position, but resign as subcom because sexual harassment is a very big thing, and I do not want this to happen once more. So yeah, to prevent it, that's what I'm going to do. It's just for the benefit of my subcom in the future, because if there's a friction between other subcommittees, right, we are not going to work together. We are not going to perform as well as we were used to. There's going to be a friction. So that's how I'm going to address this situation. And if there's specific issues that arise as well, I'm going to go to the welfare officers, and I'm going to probably go to the women's officers as well to just tell them that this issue is it arrives in MUSA itself. So be aware, and we need to take care of everyone in campus if this is ever going to happen again. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that answer. If Dominic, if you have any follow-ups to that question, just let us know. So right now we've exhausted the audience questions. So I'm just going to go and put out another call for more questions to come in. In the meantime, Tafim, are there any questions from you? Sorry, you're muted.
Not as of yet, but I'll be pitching in if I do have questions.
Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, so we just got another question. So this is from Isings again. How much have you contributed as a head in your term in 2020? What is the extent of your role and how do you plan to improve if you think there is a need? So this is obviously addressed to you, Rachel, because for those of you guys that don't know in the audience, she is rerunning for the position.
Yes. As a head in 2020, I'm going to be thoroughly honest. It wasn't, we started off very, very well because of before COVID-19, we planned everything. And then COVID-19 hit and everything changed. So what I can say that it actually opened my eyes very widely, because anything can happen during events, and me and my partner are very adaptable to any situation possible. Like, let's say because we planned for Freshies night, and then suddenly it just the lockdown happened, and we started to think of new ideas. So the extent of your role, yeah. So my role is basically to plan events, obviously plan events, and not only that, is to make Monash a more lively place, a more friendly place, and to like encourage people to get out of their comfort zone, because normally people, when you go out of the working world, you normally have to talk to people, you have to you make connections and such like that. So I need to break, what my duty is to break this barrier. We need to break this barrier before you go out to the working world and then you realize that you're too late, which we encourage not to happen. Yeah. So to improve for next year, I can say that because it's very hard for me to identify my mistakes this year because of how COVID-19 happened. So the situation is completely different if 2020 and 2021, because physical and online, right? So in terms of my self-improvement, I think I will try to be more involved with personally, I feel like I'm not involved enough, but I will try to be more involved in all my events, and to come up with those brainstorm ideas that can fit for you guys. Sometimes I get a little too out, to be honest, I get too outboard with all the events that are planned, and I try to fit everything in. But I'm gonna try to distinguish, to narrow down the events that are actually more, better for the community. Yeah, to be thoroughly honest. All right.
All right, so just before we head into the next question, I just wanted to point out something. In case some of you guys are wondering why Harish isn't here, he's lagging a little bit, so we'll just have Raif taking over as stream manager for the time being. So on that note, we'll just move on to the next question from Sam again. Given that other semester students are on break during the October intake, do you have any other small events in mind, bracket initiatives, to keep their semester fun other than the orientation bash?
I think I answered it. Yeah. So other small events, because October intake is usually towards the end of the year, and then it'll be exam period. We understand orientation bash is the first. Like, normally people are only organize orientation bash, right? But what else I want to suggest is that after all our events finish, like all our exams finish, especially as Activities Chairperson, I hope you guys understand that we have to focus on exams as well. But after that, our term doesn't end. Many people realize that our term doesn't end, so we can actually plan the events. Like, I was actually planning to do Quidditch this year, but it didn't work out because of COVID. And yeah, I'm hoping to bring back that event next year as well, because we didn't have the chance to do so. Yeah. So, and then there's also a Christmas party that is normally organized with welfare. Yeah. So that's a few events that can come up to mind, or maybe like a movie night in Monash for you guys in October intake. because we feel like, it's kind of dead in campus as well, but we want to do something for you guys because our term doesn't end. We only end at the end of the year anyways. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. So next question from Dominic again. How would you handle conflicts with other departments? What if the other department was stubborn and didn't want to negotiate?
I'll take this. Okay, so we can't force anyone to, do anything they don't want. If they do not want to cooperate and negotiate with us, we can't do anything. But I mean, we can't like force them or anything like that. So that's just Rachel. Do you wanna just try pitch in a bit?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, actually, this has happened before in my term. But to handle conflicts, like just now, I think there's a question just now when you hear two sides. Yeah, equally as conflicts, you have to hear both sides of the party, and then you ask them, like you get them in a room together and say like what is really happening, what is causing this, do you feel this way, and then they can talk it out, and we are going to be the mediators. That's one thing. And if what if the other department is stubborn? Oh, so what if the other subcom is stubborn and don't want to negotiate? We must as activities, you're going to be the one that is going to be responsible for your subcom. So we can actually advise them like this is not very ethical of you to do so. We feel like because there's already two activity chairperson anyway, it's not only one person. So we can both pitch in, like we feel like this is what is right, this is that, Then we can advise saying like why do you think, why are you not helping your other teammate? And then we can actually instill the moment where like our principles at the start, because every department has principles for their team anyways, like saying like you have to do teamwork, you have to respect your other members, and then we can just bring that up. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. One more question. Sorry.
Actually, I actually have a question.
All right, go ahead.
So because of MUSA's budget being almost cut in half this year, which was also cut in half our year, so basically 2021 will be getting about a quarter of the budget that is that maybe 2018 got for their event planning. How will you organize so many events with such little budget?
Okay, I'll take this. So, as you mentioned in our speech, that we will be looking for sponsors to help us. To help ease the budget situation, and with the sponsors that we get, we hope that we will be able to solve the situation. That's the plan right now.
Follow up to my question. A follow up is that the sponsors will never provide you cash. Sponsors will only provide their own products for their own product publicity. For example, Red Bull provides free hundreds of free Red Bull cans, but very, very, very rarely do they provide cash. So my question stands on how you would manage so many events with a quarter of the budget.
Okay, to answer that question, so we won't necessarily. We'll try our level best to use whatever budget to whatever we have to sort out whatever we can. But for example, like let's say we have an event, and for food we get let's say My Burger Lab to sponsor, and they won't give us cash handout. So we could ask them to, let's say, have like a vendor stall or something on site. That could be one of the things that we have in mind. Or we could basically stuff like that. Give out their products as a way of, it's because sponsors are a two-way street, so they will give us something, and in return the only thing that we can offer them right now is publicity, and by that is giving out, showcasing their products during our events.
Okay, can I chip in? I'm waiting to chip in actually. Yeah, so you can actually have because the budget cut is going to be great, from 2020 to 2021, and it gets lesser every year. So we can actually do. I personally feel collaboration is always the best, because you have small amounts in each department, then it comes up to a big sum. And also, like I said earlier, on how I improve things, because I have so many ideas in mind, But then we're trying to reduce the amount of events to cater to, like, the most important and most prioritized events are going to be displayed, which we feel like is best for all students. Let's say we have a smaller scale event compared to a bigger scale, and which one is more, we're going to compare which one is more beneficial for the students. So we're not going to put all our ideas out, but we are trying to be more efficient in that way. Or it could also be we will make, we will actually, like, get some profit out of it. I mean, not exactly all to cover up all the the losses, but enough, like ticket registration, ticket price, and everything, enough to cover up some costs. Yeah.
All right. A follow-up to this question is that are your most of your events planning? Most of your events planning, would you see them about as outside of campus, or would you like to have most of your events on campus? Because Monash Ball is an outside campus event, and so is Orientation Bash. So would most of your, so I take it most of your events would be outside campus?
So first things first, if you want to have off campus, there's also a possibility that the cost will be very, very high. So what I would try to do is to make it more feasible to have it in campus itself. We will try our very best to have it in campus if it's fixed. Like let's say we have a rave party. Like the best place we can have, if you want to save costs, it could be in the field itself in Monash, right? So it saves more costs in terms of venue, and yeah, like Monash Ball, we don't really we can't. If you have it in campus, you won't have the feel of like a Monash Ball feel. That's what we need to realize as well. The differentiation between all the events have a different environment feel. So Monash Ball is more of like graduation ceremony. Like it's better to have it in like it's fancy. It's fancy. So you want to have it in like a hotel venue instead of just in campus. You won't have the same feel, and then students will expect more because each year was already in hotels. So I think if we have it in campus, suddenly they will be like, why do you guys drop the expectations to this low? Yeah. Okay.
All right. A follow-up to that question would be because campus events off-campus events are very expensive, and the venues are very expensive. So per person, the per head cost for Monash to host such events would go over would go into a lot. For example, in our last budget meeting, I remember the 2020 office bearers had Monash Ball, but the subsidized cost per head was above 200 ringgits, which would not be acceptable because each person pays about 200 ringgits as their amenities fees. And if you are subsidizing above 200 ringgits for a head, that would not be fair to the other students who are not getting this benefit. And also, as I understand that the access to Monash Ball is capped. The number of participants in Monash Ball is capped. So how would you ensure students having fair distribution of benefits and welfare, but also maintain the standard of quality that you promise, that has been delivered since 2018 with such a little budget?
Okay, yeah, I'll take this one. So first things there's a few things we can do. So first, negotiating with because we already Monash already has contacts with some hotels. We can negotiate with who is respectable, like student life who is respectable to negotiate with the price. We can do that so that the price will be lower per person. And as well as another thing is what I thought of, instead of incurring such a big loss, you can actually have drive sales, let's say those packages when you pre-order and then we deliver, we get some income, we get some profit from that as well. So we can put that to cover the losses. That's second one actually. And then also because Monash Ball is a very it's like for fair distribution, right? For fair distribution. we wanted to keep the prices of Monash Ball the same, but due to the venue, it's not really possible for us to have the same price of AV, but we will try our best to keep it the same price. But that's why we came up with different ideas to raise money for Monash Ball. So it's like a lot, since we already have 1 year, right? We can have sales and sales and sales, and then we will slowly build up to incur enough money to cover up some losses, so that first you get fair distribution, and then there's also and in terms of the budget, it's still not so, you don't incur so much loss. Yeah. Okay.
All right. That's
Okay. All right. So we'll just answer one more question and then we'll wrap this session up. So this is from Dominic. How seriously do you take feedback from students, and is there a way students can give feedback to you? Will you proactively ask students for feedback to know what needs to be improved?
So as Taf mentioned earlier, yeah. So this is more or less the same question that he asked. So yes, we will. Not that we've been made known that Monash students are really shy and stuff like that. We will definitely be proactively asking students throughout the semester what kind of events would they like to see through just normal conversation, and we will also be pushing out Google Forms for students as a way for them to convey their feedback and ideas to us. Yes.
All right. So anything from you, Rachel?
Yeah. It's the same as Stephen's question, so I already answered that actually.
All right. Okay, so I guess on that note, we can move into the closing statement. Before we get into that, just gonna give another PSA. We'll be having the editors debate starting at about 3:15. So if any of the viewers want to hop on, just come along. So on that note, closing statement, guys. 5 minutes.
Okay, so we're really thankful to be given this opportunity to be delivering our speeches today. So regardless of what could happen in 2021, we won't stop serving the students, because this is our main priority of Activities Chairpersons. And we want our students to have this really good experience before they leave Monash. We really urge you students to make the right decision so that everyone can have an amazing university life. Thank you.
Oh, all right. So, okay, I guess we can end the session here. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming. Thank you, Tafim, for sitting in as a proxy. And of course, thank you to everyone who asked questions in the comments. There were some really good questions overall. So just end it here, and I'll see you at 3:15. Peace out, guys.